So you're thinking of moving to the Denver, Colorado area, but you don't really want to live in the big city. So you're kind of looking at some of the suburbs and you're wondering, what is it like to live there? What are the good, the bad, the pros and the cons? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today, except we're talking about all things Littleton, the pros and cons about Littleton, Colorado. I have 4 pros or 4 positive things about why living in Littleton, Colorado is a great place to live. And then I have 3 cons, 3 negatives about living in Littleton, Colorado. And as you can see, the pros far outweigh the cons. Living in Littleton, Colorado is a great place to live. I know because I've lived here for 18 years. So let's get started on the 4 things that make living in Littleton, Colorado great. Now, number 1 is our weather. Now, Littleton, Colorado is a huge city, and we are in the southwest portion of the Denver metro area. And I'm gonna pop up a map here and just show you the outline of the city so you can see where it is I'm talking about, where it is in relation to Denver and to the mountains. Now again, big city, but the weather, not big like Denver, but big in geographical space. And the weather is the same whether you're on the east side or the west side of Littleton. And what is so great about it is we get all 4 seasons here. So just when you're getting tired of winter, when you're tired of putting on your snow gear, you're tired of being cold, you're tired of being wet, you're tired of shoveling snow, spring hits. Now I should tell you though that we do get a lot of spring snow, and actually that's where we get most of it. But when spring hits and those daffodils start to bloom and the flowers start to come up and we're starting to get a few days of warmer weather, it's like a breath of fresh air and everybody loves it. And spring, obviously we get that spring snow that I spoke about, but it leads right into summer, and our summers here are glorious. They're glorious because we have such a dry climate. So our summers here are not filled with humidity, which to me is pro number 1, the weather, but we do get 100-degree plus days. So you do need air conditioning. Here in Littleton, Colorado, and all of the Denver metro area, quite honestly, it used to be that you could get away with not having air conditioning here, but nowadays you do need it. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then when you're tired of that heat and you're tired of the 100-degree days, we don't get a lot of them, but we get some of them. And when you get tired of them, well, then fall hits. And the beautiful thing about fall here in Colorado is the leaves start to change and you get those bright yellows and bright reds, bright oranges, and it is amazing to watch. And so fall is really great. And then obviously, who doesn't love flannels and football? And one of our local favorites here in Colorado is green chili. Now we serve it all year round, but it seems to make a big comeback in the fall because it's a warm kind of a soup or a sauce that you put over things. People here in Colorado eat it all different ways, but green chili as a warm soup, it comes out, it makes its comeback in the fall just in time for football and flannels. And then fall rolls right into winter. And honestly, our winters here are not that bad. Now we do get a lot of snow, but we are not bad in comparison to other parts of the country because we get so much sunshine here. We get 300 days, 250 days of sunshine, no matter what it is. We get a lot of sunshine, and that sunshine melts the snow right away. So it'll snow real bad or hard for a day, and the next day it could all be gone. That's just kind of how our winters work here. So that makes it a wonderful place to live. The weather and the 4 seasons are pretty awesome in my opinion. Now, before we go any further, I should introduce myself. My name is Hansen. I'm a local area realtor. I'm also a suburban mom, and I've lived in Littleton for 18 years. Now, I do like making these videos and educating you all on what the Denver metro area has to offer, but what I love more is helping you with your real estate needs. I am a licensed realtor, and I am the one that answers the phone calls, the texts, the emails. So if I can help you in any way, feel free to schedule a Zoom call with me. All of my information is here and it's below in the details section and the comment section. And I would love nothing more than to help you make a move to the Denver metro area smooth and easy. And now pro number 2 about living in Littleton, Colorado is the central location. So as you saw from the map, and I'll pop it up here again so you can see one more time, Littleton sits on the southwest side of the Denver metro area, and it's a desirable place to live because of our proximity to the mountains. So you can get up to our world-class skiing resorts like Vail, Breckenridge, Keystone. You can get up there in an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic. Sometimes it could take you 3, but an hour and a half to 2 hours is a good rule of thumb from the west side of town, from the west side of Littleton. And people like that because you can make a day trip out of it. You can head up early in the morning, go skiing for the day, head back at night. Now, again, I do have to warn you, if you're going on a big ski weekend or right after a big snow, chances are you're going to sit in a little bit of traffic, maybe a lot of traffic, and it's not going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours. It could be 3 hours to get yourself up there. But people do day trip skiing all the time. And so Littleton is not only desirable just because we sit at the base of the foothills and close to the mountains, it's desirable because of the location to downtown Denver. So again, if you're looking for an area to live, but you don't want to live in the big city, in Denver itself, Littleton is a great suburb because you're honestly, depending on which part of Littleton you're coming from, you could be anywhere from a 20 to a 30-minute drive into downtown Denver. Now, if you don't want to drive into downtown Denver, well, we have wonderful public transportation. And our public transportation is the light rail, which has stops right here in Littleton. So you can hop on the light rail, get yourself up to downtown Denver in about 20 minutes or so, and you don't have to drive, you don't have to mess with parking or paying for parking. So a lot of people like to do that as well. The ease of access from Littleton to downtown Denver is pretty good. And then other big spots that bring in lots of employees that have big employers are the Federal Center, which is the second largest federal conglomerate of federal agencies outside of Washington, D.C. And that sits in Lakewood, just north of Littleton. And then we're also close to the Denver Tech Center, which is another area that's filled with employment opportunities, international, national, and local employment opportunities there. And our location in Littleton to Denver Tech Center, you're probably looking at, could be a 20-25 minute drive, again, depending on traffic and the routes that you take. And then finally, our proximity to the Denver International Airport is also really good. Now, Littleton sits again in the southwest part of the Denver metro area. Denver International Airport sits in the northeast part of the Denver metro area. Actually, I'll just throw that map up so you can see it. We have C-470 on the west side, which turns into E-470 on the east side. That highway takes you right up into the airport. Now, from the southwest side of Littleton up to DIA, Denver International Airport, you're looking at about a 50-55 minute drive, again, depending on traffic, but you could get there 45 to 55 minutes from the southwest portion of Littleton. Now, there's other routes to take. You don't have to take C and E-470 because part of that is a toll road. So if you want to avoid the tolls, you can go up I-25, you can go out 225. There's lots of different avenues to get to the Denver International Airport, and any of those avenues are going to take you about the same amount of time. Now, you know, Denver International Airport is really big. I think it's one of the biggest by geographic size, by the lay of the land, the amount of land that the airport takes up. And I think it's about the 5th busiest airport as well. Don't quote me on that. Don't leave me comments that I'm wrong. I'm giving you a pretty good guesstimate there. It's a busy airport. It's a big airport. But the beautiful thing about it is pretty easy to use. It's easy to walk through. It is not that bad of an airport for how big it is. And then because we, Denver here, are not totally middle of the country, but we're closer there than some other parts of the country, we have flights all over the country from Denver International Airport. So the ease of travel here is spectacular as well. So that was reason number 2 why Littleton, Colorado is a great place to live, because of the central location. Now, reason number 3 why it's a great place to live is due to the outdoor activities. Now, Littleton proper, the city of Littleton, takes up part of what we refer to as Littleton. There is also lots of county area of Littleton. And out here, we really don't differentiate between proper and county area other than where your services come from. So if somebody asks you, where do you live? People say Littleton, whether it's in the city of Littleton or in the county area. But just in Littleton proper, there are over 200 miles of trails that you can hike, bike, walk, or run on just in the city of Littleton alone. And then we have the Highland Canal, which runs right through Littleton also. And the Highland Canal is 71, they call it 71 miles of linear park. And again, that's just another trail system that starts in the very southwest portion of the metro area, ends up in the northeastern portion of Denver. So again, 71 miles that you could hike, bike, walk your dog, whatever you want to do, run, it's there. Littleton has 10 golf courses, and that's not counting any miniature golf courses. We have Chatfield State Park right here in Littleton as well. And Chatfield State Park has a big lake in it, and you can bring motorized boats on Chatfield. There is a marina there, so there are some boat slips there. You can fish there on the lake. People paddleboard on the lake. And if you haven't seen some of those videos on TikTok or Instagram, just Google or Instagram, TikTok, paddleboarding at Chatfield State Park or paddleboarding on Chatfield Lake, and you'll see it's super cool because there's parts of it when the water levels are really high, you're like paddleboarding amongst the treetops, and it looks amazing. So check out those videos as well. But also at Chatfield, there's a campground there. So if you want to get away for a night, but you don't want to drive far, you can go camping there at Chatfield. Lots of people do because you feel like you're away from it all. You can also horseback ride there at Chatfield. There are tons of trails and paths through there as well. I think there's an archery range there at Chatfield also. So lots of things to do there at Chatfield State Park. There are lots of recreation centers in the Littleton area. Now, some of them are run by Foothills Parks and Rec District. Some of them are run by the South Suburban Parks and Rec District. And all of the different recreation centers, they all have a little something different. So one might have a really great indoor pool with an indoor water slide. Another one might have a lap pool in it. Or one of them has a high dive or a diving board. They all typically have workout facilities, cardio rooms, weight rooms, things like that. Some of them have indoor climbing walls. Some of them have racquetball courts. A lot of them have volleyball or basketball courts. Some of them have indoor tracks. There's just lots of things to do throughout the numerous rec centers for indoor activities. And then these rec centers also have clubs and classes and sports leagues, things you could also do outdoors through the rec centers as well. Now, Littleton also has numerous parks. One to note is Clement Park, and I did an entire video about Clement Park, and I'm gonna go ahead and link that right here above. Watch that video once you're done with this one. But Clement Park is huge. There's a lake at Clement Park that you can walk around. It's got a cemented path all around it. People walk their dogs, run, they take their scooters, they take their bikes. It's a great spot to exercise. Now that lake is like 1.4 miles around the lake, so you have that there. Then at Clement Park, there's an amphitheater where they do tons of events. They have outdoor concerts in the park, a huge 4th of July festival that they actually do on the 3rd of July, where almost the entire city comes out to it. It's pretty cool. They have tons of other smaller festivals and things going on there at the park. The park has a splash pad, which they put in just a couple years ago. So a fun place to take the littles that need to get out of that 100-degree heat and do some fun water activities. There's tennis courts, pickleball courts, there's softball fields, there's huge grassy areas where they set up soccer fields and volleyball courts. There's a skate park there, and there is a huge playground. And what's really cool about the playground there is that is an inclusive playground. So there are things to do on that playground for people of all abilities, which is pretty awesome. And then the last thing that makes Littleton so great is our sledding hills. Now, anywhere in the Denver metro area, you're gonna find sledding hills throughout the neighborhoods. People kind of make them through the parks or the open spaces and things like that. But Littleton is home to Sledding Hill Park, which is a whole park dedicated to sledding in the winter. In the summer, there's not much there. It's one ginormous hill. When it's covered in snow, that place is packed with people. Sledding Hill Park, that is in Littleton, which is also a reason why Littleton is so great to live. And then the fourth pro that makes Littleton so amazing is the downtown area. Now, not every suburb in the Denver area has their own downtown area. Littleton does. So if you're thinking about that like quintessential downtown area where you can go and have lunch and walk through downtown, see some shops, some boutique shops, some mom and pop shops. You've got ice cream stores where you can get an ice cream. There are some candy shops, some vintage candy shops, all kinds of different things there in downtown Littleton. Now, downtown Littleton has a couple breweries in it. It also has a wine bar, a coffee bar, and there is a theater there. And the theater there in downtown Littleton is pretty amazing. I like it, one, because it's easy to get to, two, it's small. And so I used to take my kids there when they were little, and they loved it because honestly, you can almost reach out and touch the actors. You are that close to them. And so it keeps the attention of the littles, which is pretty cool. But I also like it for the ease of access because it's not so big. It's also really great for the elders. So I love taking my parents there as well because when they have difficulties going to see the theater in downtown Denver, where you have to park far away, and it's a pretty big hike to get into the theater. And then once you're there, it's a pretty big hike to get to your seat. It just makes that a little cumbersome for them. It makes it not quite as enjoyable because it's a little more difficult for them. This theater in downtown Littleton fixes that problem. So it's a fun day out. Go for lunch, go to the theater, and the plays there are pretty spectacular. So I've been multiple times with my family and we love every play we've seen there. We haven't had a bad one yet. So if you're looking for a place that has the parades, the festivals, that downtown feel, Littleton is it. Again, there are other cities, other suburbs that have quintessential downtown areas around. Littleton is one of them, and theirs is pretty cool, I would say. So I will tell you, I did have trouble coming up with some negatives of living in Littleton. Again, I've lived here for 18 years. I think it's a pretty spectacular place, but there are some things you just need to know. So one of them, and this is going to be for all of Denver metro area, but one of them is the climate. Now, the Denver metro area has a very dry climate. So if you're not used to it, if you move here from another state, trust me when I say your lips are going to get chapped, your heels are going to crack, your elbows are going to get really rough like sandpaper, even your fingers, your toes. It's just what happens here. It is super dry. So we recommend you drink lots of water, not only because of the altitude, because we do sit at 5,280 feet, the altitude and the less oxygen up here, but also the dryness. And so we do recommend lots of water. So it's just something you have to get used to, and you will. Your body does acclimate to it. But the dryness, I would say it's a negative about living here, pretty much anywhere in the metro area though. And negative number 2 is the cost of housing. Let's face it, it's expensive to live here in the Denver metro area, and in particular, Littleton. The national average housing cost is about $420,000, where Littleton's average in July of 2024 was $722,000. So you can see the difference. National average of $420,000, Littleton average is $722,000. It's just expensive here. And what I want to do is show you what does an average house look like here in Littleton. Now, Littleton is kind of a landlocked city, let's say. There are some new construction homes in the very southernmost part of Littleton, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but most of Littleton is landlocked. So there's just not a lot of new construction in Littleton other than that very most southern part, which is Sterling Ranch. Now, when Sterling Ranch is built, there's going to be 12,000 homes in Sterling Ranch. And then right outside Sterling Ranch, there's another community called Solstice. There's going to be 1,500 homes there. So down in that southernmost Littleton area, there is still land to build on, and that's where the builders are going. But predominantly, Littleton is an older community with a few pockets of new construction or newer build homes. So let's go take a look at what does an average home look like here in Littleton. So this home that I'm showing you, and I'm showing you pictures straight from Zillow, this is in the Columbine Hills neighborhood, and this home is listed at $715,000. Now, Columbine Hills is a desirable part or desirable neighborhood of Littleton. This home was built in 1976. It's about 2,500 square feet total. That does include the basement square footage, but the basement on this one is finished. So it's about 1813 square feet finished. Now this one does have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It's got a 2-car garage and it includes RV parking. The lot on this one is pretty big as well. It sits at almost a 1/4 acre and there is no HOA on this property. Now the second property I'm going to show you, also in the city of Littleton. This one is listed at $725,000 and it is currently active for sale at the time of this filming. Now this home was built in 1984, so it's a little bit newer than the last home that I showed you. This home is also a tri-level home and it's almost 2,400 square feet total, again including the basement. And the basement on this one is finished. Now this home is 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, and it has a 2-car attached garage. This one also has no HOA, which if you're looking for properties with no HOA, a lot of Littleton has no homeowners association. So if you're looking for that, Littleton's a great spot for you to live. And then this home here sits on a 6,900 square foot lot, a little bit smaller than the last home that I showed you. But that should give you a pretty good idea of what does $720,000 buy. The average sales price July of 2024. What does that buy you in Littleton? There you have it. And then the third con about living in Littleton is the population growth. Now, as I told you, I moved here 18 years ago, and I moved here from a big Southern California city. And when we came out to Littleton, I felt like it was just this small town feel, even though it was pretty big, not as big as Denver, but pretty big. But I felt like it just had this really cute small town charm. Now, some of that charm is still here in Littleton, but because of the population growth that the entire metro area has seen, it has kind of taken away some of that, and it doesn't feel so small townish anymore. Now, Littleton is the 20th largest city in all of the state of Colorado. And our population growth, because we're losing that small town charm, that small town feel, and we're growing tremendously. Again, the whole metro area is. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a new community in the southernmost part of Littleton, Sterling Ranch. And Sterling Ranch, when it's completely built out, is going to have about 12,000 homes. So I declare our population growth as a negative number 3. So overall, you can see that the pros far outweigh the cons. I had 4 pros and 3 cons, right? And I could probably add more to each of the lists, but those are the biggest ones that come to mind for me. Littleton is a pretty great place to live. It's a great place to raise kids. It's a great place to bring your parents if you're coming in. It's a great place if you don't have kids. It's just a wonderful place to live, and the city offers a lot. Now, if you're interested in more information about the Littleton area, I have tons of videos on my channel. Or if you're interested in any other part of the Denver metro area, watch some of my other videos. I've done lots of the suburbs of the Denver metro area, and I'm always available to answer questions for you. Again, I'm the one that will answer the phone, the emails, the texts. All my information is below. My name's Kathy Hansen, and I do sell homes right here in Littleton, Colorado, and the entire Denver metro area, and I would love to help you. Now that's all that I have for you today. Go check out that Clement Park video so you can see what that park is all about. And then I'm also gonna direct you right over here to this video here. Go check this one out. Let me know if you have any questions. I am here to help.